Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show here in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn, with a dear friend and the father of two people I consider to be soul brothers. Marshall Kresman, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And, hello to everybody out there in radio or podcast land.
Absolutely. Well, this is on YouTube land too.
YouTube? Wow.
I mean, I know you're not into legacy or anything like that, but can you talk about a defining moment in your legal career?
That's an interesting point. You know, I mean, I guess when you get to a certain age, you should be reflective. I just got my last year my 50-year pin for the Philadelphia Bar Association, being there for 50 years. So I guess when I received that made me think of my legacy, and I think I would say for any lawyer, the greatest legacy is what you did for your clients, and you know what their perception of justice may be now that you know they've had their touch or brush or whatever you want to say with the law. And I just hope that I left with them a feeling that lawyers have integrity and try to maximize what you know their best interest, doing things within the confines of the law. I think unfortunately the past few years there's been a lot of things. Actually, you go back to Watergate, where lawyers have done some very disgraceful things, and I just hope that my association with my clients over 50 years have you know, shown the better angels in the legal profession, so to speak, and maybe weigh against some of the Nixonian, Trumpian things.
Yeah, no, well, a couple things. I mean, what's the right word to talk about? Have the morals slipped from some people? They become unscrupulous? I mean, look at someone like Giuliani. I mean, he went from, whether or not you thought he was a good mayor, he handled himself in a certain way after 9/11, and then he was literally going out there and spewing lies. I mean, and then that just bleeds into the lower tiers. What do you think is the biggest fear? I don't know if that's the right word, but what has eroded, so to speak?
Well, I would say, I think, taking long perspective, the United States emerged from the Second World War. We fought fascism. We defeated fascism. We were the most powerful country in the world. Through the Marshall Plan and things like that, we helped Western Europe revive. We fought colonialism, helped other countries get independence. And I think there's a general feeling among the entire population, a unity, and people thought alike, and you know the idea of democracy and all that had wide acceptance across the entire electorate. In fact, they used to say that that partisanship ended at the water's edge. In other words, we may have our own internal debates in the United States, but in terms like foreign policy, we were a united country.
That's right.
That unfortunately has changes, and I think historically, biblically, you see after some cataclysmic event that unites people, people forget. People have forgotten the horrors of Hitler and fascism, the unity that we once had. I mean, you got to the point where you had 3 TV networks at one point, and Walter Cronkite and Huntley and Brinkley and people like that, Eric Severide, were all on the same page, and most of America agreed with that. Now, unfortunately, you have elements. You have.
I want to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Like firing line. I've been watching a lot of. I don't know. It was William Buckley, and I'd see him with taking on, not even taking on. It was Huey Newton from the Black Panthers or Allen Ginsberg, and it was like these very spirited discussions. Like politically, they were coming from different places, but it was like civil. My question is, you just mentioned 3 TV networks. Is it the fact that the ratings now drive money, and so you have to be as sensational or fight, as opposed to just I mean, legislation should be generally pretty boring. I mean, it should be a pretty boring, mundane, do it what's good for the most people kind of thing. And now it's like, no, let's just light a Molotov cocktail and blow it up because we're going to get more viewers.
Well, I think the networks and networks like Fox News are playing to a certain group. They see an untapped potential of this group that
Of
they
tomfoolery.
they see power. I mean, Rupert Murdoch is probably the most powerful man in the world right now, in my opinion, in terms of public opinion.
You've said that for a while.
Yes, I mean, not only in the United States, in Australia and England, and I think it's more of a thirst for power, and the profits are almost, if you're a multi-billionaire, profits are almost ancillary to your main goal, which is accruing power. So, there's now what is truth? I mean, that becomes a basic issue. What constitutes truth?
Well, like Moynihan used to say, you're entitled to your own opinions, not your own facts. That seemed to fly during the Russert era. Now it's like people's opinions, that is their truth.
Well, facts. How do you define a fact?
Right.
That becomes an issue too. If two people, even in a court of law, two people have a different opinion about how a motor vehicle accident occurred, ultimately, the jury, the finders of fact, have to determine, what is fact. So, I think more to the point, I think its basic values are really the point.
Values, that's the word, right?
Yeah, basic values. I mean, for instance, is murder bad or is murder good? I mean, you would think that most society would agree murder is bad, but I don't think we have an agreement on some really basic fundamentals. And if you don't have an agreement on the basic fundamentals, then everything else that's built upon that, is in question. So,
well, let me ask you something. I mean, do you see us? You don't have a crystal ball, but based on the fact that there's basically going to be a conservative majority for a long, long time, do you see us moving to kind of two Americas where you're going to go to, and there's going to be some places that have Sharia law, Christian Sharia law, and then there's going to be some places that are more progressive, because it seems like they're just kicking everything down to states' rights now. At least the most contentious stuff, which means the states can decide what they want to do. What do you say?
Well, I think basic safeguards are no longer, they talk about the guardrails.
The guardrails,
Basics,
yeah.
They're gone. You have a Supreme Court now that, in the law, they call it stare decisis, respecting opinion, so that there's some sort of agreement on what is the law.
What is a democratic process? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and if you can overturn, for instance, the abortion Roe v. Wade after it's been in place for 50 years, and just disregard it because you have a new majority on the court, then there is no fundamental law that you can agree on. I mean, you got to the point that the Supreme Court could say, well, secession is fine if Texas wants to leave the Union, or Missouri or California, they have every right to. And with a 5-4 vote, you could change something as basic as that.
Right.
Once you start saying that, precedent is not going to guide our opinions. The changing majority will, on each case, will make a new decision. Then you've lost something in terms of a democratic society.
The norms, right? The democratic norms that we're used to dealing with, they're gone.
I would say, yeah. I mean, the norms.
Do you think? Let me ask you a question. Like, just based on the fact that you grew up and were very cognizant, you were an adult during Watergate. Does it worry you that the committee has just been so slow? Do you feel like it's not as effective as what? It seems to me like that John Dean, that whole thing, the whole testimony, that brought down Nixon, and then you actually had people Republicans that actually said, "You're done."
Well, I mean, in those days you had some unanimity. I mean, the Republicans on the Watergate committee were working in concert
right
with the Democrats. So, the entire party, Republican Party structure and the Democratic Party structure, and you know, what Nixon did in terms of the plumbers and all that was unanimously
Like you knew right from wrong, right?
Right.
There was no delusion there.
You know, this January 6th thing is up in the air now as to was it wrong or was it right? Was it just a peaceful demonstration? Is now you know,
Well, with the fact that that all the major players, they won't testify. They don't feel they have to test. I mean, it seems to me the scariest part is when you prove that tyrannical or criminal people are above the law. That's when things really get. That's when it can get really bad.
Well, again, it goes back, I think, only to the top of the Supreme Court. You had the Watergate tapes issue. The court made a clear declaration. I mean, now, again, who knows? So you can delay and delay and delay, and you know.
That's right. Wait out the clock, right?
I mean, by the time 2024 comes around, these issues on criminality, for instance, of Trump, still won't be decided at the rate things are going, unfortunately.
I haven't asked you this yet. My gut, even though things are very dark right now, I feel like there's a lot of potentially positive stuff that could come out of this horrible conflict in Ukraine. I'm going to say right now, I predict. I mean, people might call this Pollyannish, but I do think it's going to break in the favor of the West, and I think this is a clear example of the failure of autocracy. I think that it won't lead to a landslide, but I think it will lead to a re-election for Biden. I just feel like, and already it's being played out with Russia being bogged down, but I don't want to make light of it, and I'm very concerned about it. Do you think there's an upside? I mean, there's an upside to everything, but do you see that there is an upside to this?
I'm sorry, I can't see an upside, really. I mean, I don't think Biden's position is going to be in any way enhanced by what's occurred. Again, you can attack him for several valid points. I mean, his actions in Afghanistan may have given Putin a feeling of weakness. I mean,
That's right.
Those are issues that can be raised legitimately. And I don't think I mean, I see Putin as basically Hitler with nuclear weapons, which is not a good issue. So, I mean, I'm not a soothsayer. I can't predict the future, but I can't say that there's an upside, or that we can feel optimistic that there's an upside to this.
Well, let me ask you just about the fact that people were just in awe of Pompeo, Trump, in awe of Putin, and if he has a colossal military failure, obviously there could be a lot of atrocity, but could that sort of blemish the autocratic streak at least a little? All it takes is about 10% of the autocrats to fall off in order to say this is not going to work.
Well, I mean, this war is far from over. I mean, it's obvious to me that Putin's not going to stop till and
That's
will
right.
do anything to grind to finally, remain in the Ukraine. He may face a guerrilla insurgency or something like that, but he's not going to go away. And the threat has increased to NATO's northern flank, the Baltic states. Belarus is now in Putin's pocket and is like his satellite, working in coordination with him. So again, I can't say I can see a quick ending or a long-term happy ending to this situation. Especially since he's made some alliance with China, which could supply him with a lot of the commercial consumer goods
Absolutely.
that he
I didn't
needs
think about that. Yeah.
in return for their oil. So it sort of reminds me of Germany's
Alliance.
Civil War alliance with Japan and Russia back before they began their Second World War.
What about Italy? Did they have an alliance with Italy in World War II?
Yeah, there was. Italy was. Mussolini and Italy were.
But not an economic one per se.
But they did have an economic. But again, Italy was a minor factor. Was basically Russia and Japan supporting Hitler, which emboldened him to begin the
bite off more than he could chew, actually. And he went over.
Well, he came close to biting it off and swallowing it.
We wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
Marshall, before I let you go, can you just talk about how your grandkids, I mean, you have 3 great sons, but how your grandkids have changed your life? And also, as you sort of begin to unwind and maybe move into another phase of your life, do you feel like you're excited to see them get older, and do they give you more life?
Well, of course, I think in the progression of human life, grandchildren are a natural part of it. I mean, I believe the most important inner human relationships are the most important part. I think most people would say of the life cycle, and having grandchildren add a new dimension. I think there have been books saying many times saying that grandparents are closer to their grandchildren than they ever were to their children, because there's a whole different dynamic. And,
Totally.
And it gives you, it sort of puts life and death in perspective to you in terms of a new generation coming up. And I think when most people look back on their lives, their children, their grandchildren are their greatest legacy, not their bank accounts or their belongings that really meaningless in the
You can't take any of it out and moving on. So it's
right. So I mean that's what life's all
they
about.
they make you feel good though.
They give you perspective on life.
Sure.
And, so those who aren't blessed to have grandchildren, I think, miss a great deal in terms of what life's all about and what their purpose in life is and has been.
Marshall Kresman, stay safe, keep being productive, and it's always good to see you, man. I can't wait to do it again.
I love your show. I think you're the best, and Jake, you'll always be in my heart. So thank you, and thank you, audience, for watching us.
It's the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you later.